Teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of things. One was a few community posts that Chantal put up, and then the second thing is her back to Beezin live that I'm just recapping here. Now I think technically she did put up the community tabs after the live. I slept through both so I wasn't here in real time, but there's nothing in the posts that are particularly time sensitive, so we're just going to go through them first so I don't forget. The only thing you really need to know about the live versus the community post is that she mentions that she might do the thing that she then announced. So let's look at the first one. First one is, I unblocked. I will make a 99-cent tier called Budget Beezin, and I will keep the other tiers and make special emojis for the different tiers. That doesn't seem like much incentive, but we'll keep going. I will do open chats. My Beezers will have special emojis and badges to use. I will work on them soon. Thanks guys, let's bees. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks guys, let's bees. I'm guessing she deleted something and didn't realize she hadn't fully deleted it. If you can smell that, that's the desperation, because not only does the 99-cent tier completely cut down the other tiers, there's no point to the other tiers now, especially if she says she's going to do open chats, because the only benefit her membership really gives, because I would not really count those emojis as anything, the only benefit her memberships give people are the ability to talk in the chats, and that's been fewer and fewer these days. So this tells us she's really hard up for money because she'd rather have more members at a lower tier, which I'm guessing means her numbers are not good in terms of memberships at all. But it also tells us that she can't even rely on the trolling super chats anymore, because with YouTube taking 30% of super chats, because it's a 30-70 split when it comes to those, it means that she thinks she's going to make more money on a 30-70 split of a $1 membership than she is of a $1.99 super chat, because I believe the $1.99 is the smallest. I might be mistaken, but that's usually what people send when they want to insult her and they're not a member. So what she's really hoping for here is not more fans, although she might kind of be cannibalizing the positive fans at this point, the ones that do ride or die in her chat, because there's no reason, if you can get into chat anyway, to pay the top tier when you could pay the bottom. Just save yourself the money. But she's very much relying on the hate views here, because people will now be able to save money on insulting her. They can pay the $1 and get a month's access instead of having to pay the $1.99 for one comment. This is not me trying to sell her memberships, but that is what I think she's relying on. But ultimately she made more money from the super chats, but she's just not getting them as much. People can't even be bothered to pay to insult her at this point. But when this does inevitably lead, as we see in the next community tab, she's aware of this, but as this does inevitably lead to an increase in negative discourse, because she doesn't allow talking like that otherwise, because her comments have been closed for a while. Are they open right now, actually? But she closes them regularly because she can't handle them. So all this is going to do is increase her rage, essentially, because more and more people are going to be able to talk in the chat, and she's not going to be able to handle that. She'll handle it for 1 or 2 live streams and be like, oh, no, please be respectful, that's all we ask. And then she'll blow up because you'll catch her in the wrong mood when she's feeling less peace and love, and that'll be that. And given that her chat has been closed for so long, and given the choices she's been making with her content, and how angry a portion of her audience is, a lot of people have made alternate arrangements for viewing her streams, either through reactors or through different sources. They don't even need to spend the $1. And I think she thinks by making this cheaper, she'll force those people back to her channel, encourage them to come and watch at source, when actually they've just made themselves a new place in a different corner of the community. And she already knows what's coming, because here is the second community tab. I should clarify that certain hate will have you perma-blocked. Isn't the point of blocking that it's permanent generally? I unblocked for those who are not hateful or disgusting in their comments. Also, how is it desperate to want to keep my channel going? Why should I let my channel go? Because you say constantly that you hate uploading to it and that Salah pays for everything. Think how many times she's quit in the last month. It's been a fair few. But she did a live. After she said she was going to quit, she then did a live to tell us again she was going to quit. And she was talking about how, oh, I have to upload, and how terrible that feeling was. So let it go. If the money doesn't matter, let it go, except she's talking about money right now. I like to earn my own money as well, but I'm not fixated on it. Well, you've got 3 channels up and running and you're trying to entice people into memberships, so you are quite fixated on it, you just can't earn enough of it. I enjoy making content. Well, that's not what you've said up until now. New vlog coming soon on the couples channel, oh joy. But yeah, all are welcome if you can be civil, and if not, we will reblock you. And this is the last unblocking I will do on this channel. That is a lie. So I am being careful to only block very hateful comments, not dissenters or criticism. Number 1, she cannot, to save her own life on her own channel, she cannot see the difference between hate and criticism. She's never been able to. But can we talk about the word dissenters? What exactly does she count as a dissenter? Like, thought crime for you. You've got to be in the cult. You've got to drink that Kool-Aid. But if you talk, or you appear to talk, or you're seen viewing someone else's live stream, well, that's a betrayal. And we will not allow you within our community. It's a very serious word, and one I generally associate with things like cults, military, and religion. Whatever you may think of those connections in my head. But that is the way things will now be run, and I'm sure it will be a very consistent application. There is another one on here just advertising a gaming stream from Salah. I don't watch his gaming streams, but I really don't understand what he's doing with them. I like to watch gaming streams from a couple of creators, but what is a 23-minute and 54-second gaming stream gonna do here? That's not really what gamers do with stream, or at least not successful ones. Either you have long play-alongs where you're chatting with your chat and you're playing certain parts and you're talking, or you do shorter like how-to videos or quest videos or what have you. Who's gonna tune in for a 23-minute play-along? But anyway, let's just do a quick recap of the Back to Beezin stream. Bear in mind, she hasn't been on live for a little while now, so you're expecting a lot of people to come on in. It's not really the case. She didn't do too badly, but nowhere near like her peak numbers. So she's making shisha. She says that Salah dropped her off and that things are open late now, so he's gone to run some errands at 1:30 in the morning. And she mentions that she's thinking of making a budget Beezin tier, which we've just discussed. She says, yes, I have a key. You guys shouldn't take what I say to heart all the time. And I'm like, excuse me, that's a bit of a mixed message. Like, so when you have no reason to lie and you mention something that you don't like people latching onto, which seems completely plausible, you shouldn't be listened to. But now that you're saying you do have a key, then we should trust you. What? Clearly you're being totally honest, and this is the moment when you're being totally honest, despite the fact you're saying you lied to us. I don't believe she had a key when she told us she didn't have one. She might have gotten one since, we'll see. We'll see what her access to fast food looks like. If she starts being able to order her own, we are going to see a turn in this channel. We are going to see a turn. She said she needs to edit a vlog. They went to an amusement park. I'm sure that will be riveting, as their vlogs always are. She says, I sound like I'm in a good mood. Yeah, it's the pills. She started taking her antidepressants again. She claimed she's been on them for about a week. And I'm like, antidepressants, in my experience, take longer than that to work. It takes a while for it to build into a therapeutic action. Now, I will say there is sometimes kind of a placebo effect where, well, not even placebo, that's being unfair, but when you know you're on them or you know you're getting help, even if you're still waiting for them to kick in, it can make you feel more hopeful to know that this could help you. So there could be that kind of going on there, because she's been on these pills before, she knows it helps her, and she could just be kind of relieved that she's doing it. I don't know, but it seems very soon to be feeling a large change in mood. She says they haven't been to the gym. They need to get back to it, but it seems like the first flush of excitement for the change has kind of fallen away, as it does tend to wane. She said that the shisha was relaxing, and she said between the pills and the shisha, she's feeling better. And it just seems like she's kind of seeking out oblivion again, and we saw a lot of that when she was on weed. She just wants to be kind of knocked out with a lot of things. When you move to another country, there is kind of a roller coaster you go on where you start and you're like super happy and super excited to be there, and then you tend to dip as you start to miss the things at home, and then if you stay long enough and you settle in your new life, it sort of levels off. And that's why people talk about things like the honeymoon period in a marriage. It kind of goes through the same thing sometimes. But she has been in Kuwait long enough now that the bloom is starting to come off the rose somewhat. Now, this could even out, but a few times in this stream, she mentions things like, later on, people ask what you miss from Canada. And she says like, oh, sometimes, first she says, no, only family. And then she goes, well, I sometimes picture my room back at the villa and just sitting in front of my computer being silly. Getting high, making a fool of yourself, same difference. But she sometimes misses that. And then Salah's right next to her and she goes, okay, well, you know, but I'm in such a better place now. I'm so much better mentally and all the rest of it. And she starts going through that. But I think she does miss it. I think she misses not having to try so hard in all aspects of her life and the freedom to just slob out. And she doesn't have as much of that freedom here. But she reminds us to stay tuned for the vlog, and she tries to drum up some views. She talks about summer and how she's already got the AC on 20 and it's still not half as hot as it's gonna get. Yeah, it's gonna get a lot hotter. I don't know what the humidity is like in Kuwait, because I was really surprised by just how humid Oman is. And we've started, like, the humidity has started to hit here. The temperature is still only around 30, 32, I think it got up to the other day. And in the height of summer, it can easily be 40. 40, I've done break duty in like 43 before. It's pretty awful. But the humidity here kills me. You literally step outside and feel like you need to shower. But I'm not sure if that's the case in Kuwait, because in Saudi Arabia that was not the case at all. It was incredibly hot, but I didn't find it at all humid. But she seems to be peaking really early on the AC if it's 20 now, because the ACs are like, I've got some AC units. I've got one you might be able to hear running above me, because this used to be the second bedroom and I turned it into kind of my filming space. I've got one in the bedroom I actually sleep in, and I've got one in my main area. Now, if you've seen on my Milk Tea Chill channel, it used to be here and I think I moved it over. What was that after I made the channel? I'm not sure. But I have a little apartment tour. So where my main area is, off to the side, I have my kitchen and the air just kind of circulates through. I don't need another machine for in there. Her apartment is very small and has no windows. So at the very least, the area she's sitting in with the air should be cold. At school even, when we're running the AC in the classroom, right now we're in that time of year when we kind of were turning it on and off every 5 minutes, because when it cools it gets too cold, but when you turn it off it warms up really quickly with all the bodies in the room. So I'm surprised she has to run it so cold 24/7 and have a fan, because once the room is cold it will stay that way for a while. But anyway, she's in for a shock when the full heat hits, because man, she's gonna hate it. She mentions her antidepressants again, and the fact she's been on a week, she feels so much better. We've already discussed that. She talks about how her CPAP mask failed and she woke up not being able to breathe, which sounds terrifying. But she's telling us this while literally smoking a shisha. So clearly you're not that worried about your lungs. What are you doing? She also goes on about how getting the new hose for the CPAP machine was so much cheaper there, and it might have been, but I thought she had replaced that hose quite recently, because didn't Nada break it and then she had to get a new one? And she does say like ages ago that happened, so maybe she is counting that as ages ago, I don't know, or maybe she never replaced it, who knows. She defends those drawings she did on the community post, you know, the impersonations. She says that, you know, she enjoys it and that people used to like it, so she thought she'd do it here and it was silly. And I'm like, why not take it up as an actual hobby then? Like, you got nothing else to do, literally. And it's a good indoor activity. She's always said she hates crafts, but if you like drawing, why not do that? Even if you don't want to go to like a class, which might be a nice way to meet people and form your own circle of friends, but even if you don't want to do that, like put some YouTube videos on, figure out how to draw properly, practice it a little bit. It'd be something to put your energy into, or at least something positive. She says something about like not ruining friendships, and I'm like, seriously? She says that's only been since YouTube, and like she's been on YouTube for what, 7 years now? Is it 7 years? And prior to that, based on stories she told, as much as she likes people to believe she's really bubbly and she has a wide circle of friends, she didn't seem particularly welcome in any of the social situations we've seen her in. She always seems awkward. And the only friends we heard her talk about on like a regular basis were Rena and who turned out to be Shannon. And we know what happened with Shannon, and Rena kind of disappeared as they lost contact. I don't think YouTube has helped her personality, but I don't think she was overflowing with friends before now. Someone tells her not to open the comments. She says she likes the nice ones. Well, she wrote them, so I would imagine so. Like, give the nice ones to Salah and just get him to read them to you. Just save yourself the trouble. Oh, she started a conversation. Think how dangerous this would be for her right now. There should be more accountability from social media platforms because they give the people opportunity to spread their narrative. This seems like a very dangerous line of conversation for her, considering she actually got her channel yeeted for a while there. Like, there have been many times and many reasons that a social media platform might come in and remove her content. And the fact that she's coasted by for this long has been insane. I wouldn't start getting too vocal about the fact that they should be stricter on this. But you know, she doesn't care about the money. So maybe if her channel got cancelled again and YouTube actually took it off, she wouldn't care. I'm sure she wouldn't panic at all. We wouldn't hear from her on other platforms. She wouldn't go starting Patreons or Twitch or anything. She would just be like, you know, it had run its course, and she'll live off Salah forever. Tax repayment be damned, she'd be totally chill. In her attempt to turn back time, she is trying to revive the controversy of like fat people shouldn't do mukbangs, which has been a conversation that's long been on her channel when that was her main content. But right now, I don't think anybody is really making the argument right now, because I don't think anybody cares to that much. But she'd much rather argue about that conversation than any other one that's currently relevant to her channel. And her chat is already supplying her with excuses that, you know, maybe the live mukbangs will distract her from eating too much. I'm like, oh, I remember when she used to say that. We had an absolute gem for the "This Will Age Like Milk" folder I have on my computer.
I refuse to be hateful and insulting to people, no matter what they say to me, because honestly, I can say at the end of the day, I'm not like that, so I'm perfect.
Miss Chantal Marie, The Chantal Show 2023. So Salah arrives back at the villa, they share some shisha, and Foodie is asked if they are booking like a package deal or something for the trip they're planning to take, and by planning I mean have to take by the time May finishes, because her tourist visa is going to run out, unless, I suppose you can renew it for like a month, but I don't know if she will. She claims she has been so busy after telling us at the beginning of the stream that she doesn't really go out in the day because of Ramadan and the heat. So she hasn't looked into it yet. Now, in regards to this, I think there are two most likely possibilities, and both of them could be true. In regards to this, I think there are two most likely possibilities. It's most likely the first, but both could be true. One is simply money. Even if the first iPhone wasn't bought new, which I suspect it wasn't, it would still have taken a fair chunk of change. And she took us to the store where they got the second one, so we know how much she paid for that one. Now, we know that her views are down, and we know from her actions that probably her earnings are not so great, and she has made noises to that effect. Now, in terms of just cheap, short flights, she could just hop a plane to Bahrain, which would be less than an hour. She could hop a plane to many places in the Middle East, go to an embassy and get a tourist visa. She could do that. But she's been selling this as Salah and her want to travel, like her husband wants to go on a vacation with his wife. And she knows that vlogs will be expected, and she probably wants to cash in on that. And Salah has also been pretty vocal about wanting to leave and travel somewhere further out, which they confirmed in this stream. And I think she likely sold him on that idea. Oh, we'll travel all these places, we'll have all these opportunities to get out of the country with the money she was definitely going to make on YouTube. So I think that was kind of understood between them, and it's now beyond their current means. And I know she would throw back, no, Salah earns money. But like I said, they've spent a lot this month. Now, the second thing they could be doing, and this would be, God, smarter feels like the wrong word, but this would be a way, if they were serious about changing her status into something viable, they could go somewhere where they could get legally married, and then they could come back and register that marriage in Kuwait. Now, that would be more complicated. It would require going further out because they'd have to go to a country where civil marriage was legal, and it would require just more paperwork and more planning and organization in that way. So it's not impossible. I don't think she thinks ahead enough. I'm throwing it out as a theory, but I don't think they thought much about it with the status quo is not currently causing the sky to fall, which is as much consideration to problems that Chantal will give, really. She is known for dealing with things only when she's forced to deal with them. So I think money is much more likely the issue. I very much doubt they've got money in savings, because Chantal just doesn't do that. I don't know Salah's situation, but Chantal doesn't do that. So I think she's just waiting on YouTube, seeing how much money she's going to get and where they can afford to go, which is actually going to be kind of difficult because we're going to start approaching like peak travel. Now, she does have to travel before the end of May, I believe. She got there March, didn't she? March 1st. So end of May would be the limit of her visa. If she extended for the month that she can while in Kuwait, then she could go out maybe beginning of June instead. But even a fairly modest international trip is going to be quite expensive. Like, I recently booked a trip to Athens. I'm going to go in July, kind of mid-July-ish. And because I had paid so much to national insurance the last couple of months, I have a channel which, will be relevant in a second. I have a second channel called Milk Tea Chilled, and I do like budget videos on there. So if you've been watching that, you'll know what I've been doing for the national insurance the last couple of months. But it means that I had to scale back my travel plans for this summer because all the money I was going to put into my travel fund, I've now taken out to pay that. But even with me finding a decent-ish flight that wasn't too bad with like the hours and hours of layover, and finding a very reasonable Airbnb at just under 50 quid a night, like near the transport and the tourist sites, I'm spending, just for travel on board, I'm spending about 1,200. And then that's not counting meals and things. Like when I say board, I just mean a roof and a bed. So if they're paying for 2 tickets, that's going to be more expensive. And then they have to have the same expenses as I do. Now, Chantal used to earn so much more that she didn't really have to think and plan for that. But in this case, I think that would be a considerable amount compared to what they can get their hands on at any time. So I think we might be waiting and seeing how much money we can amass before we make the plans. She doesn't really have very many pay cycles to make this work before she runs out of time. And true, we don't know how much Salah would be chipping in, but I think money would be an issue there. Chantal says positive chat is something she missed the most while she was away. I'm like, positive where? Lockdown, I suppose. She talks about people reacting. She doesn't rage, credit to her, about how we should do our own content. Salah then calls us lowlives. Hi, Salah. And Chantal starts lecturing us on how to make your content more fulfilling and you shouldn't care about views. And I'm sitting here like, oh, the irony. And that's what I was saying about my second channel. I actually have a second channel and it gets very low views because budgeting as like a debt confession budgeting part of the internet, the views do tend to be lower, and I'm a very small channel. I don't update it very often and I'm not really well known in the community. But I do it because it interests me and I like it. But I find it a bit rich coming from Chantal of the 3 channels and the budget Beezin tier, who has actually done reactions herself when she wants to drum up drama. Like, I will take lectures from some people, it ain't gonna be from her. She defends her mukbangs, and again, I don't think anyone cares, but as I say, I think she'd rather have this argument than any currently on the table. She was asked if she fell out with Carly, and she said no, she didn't, but they don't really talk anymore. And she mentioned some other mukbangers and kind of, you know, back in her day and the things she used to watch and the people she would have collabed with. So Salah at one point briefly mentions that he lost his mom when he was a kid, and Chantal came up with a really cringy answer of, well, I'm like his mom. And I was like, oh, no. And she catches herself and she's like, no, like the caring and the nurturing, but the damage was done, man. And this is where she started talking about sort of Canada and how she cries sometimes because she misses Grams and the cats. And I was like, oh God, not the cats as a topic again. I'm not going to go all through it. It's the same stuff. But she did say something that I found quite, wow. She said like, oh, we don't know how the cats are doing because we don't get updates. This from the woman who literally raged about the idea that the cats might be used for content. She's now using a lack of content as a criticism. Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to be on both sides of that fence. You really don't. And she can argue all she wants that she was manipulated and she really trusted the person that she gave her to, or the person she thought she was giving BBJ to. But the fact is, you didn't vet them, you didn't check them, you just wanted BBJ gone, and here are the consequences. And that's pretty much everything that was in here. I think she's getting more nostalgic for her old life, because she went from rejecting everything Canada represented to now she's like, oh, you know, I sometimes miss this and being silly. And I do wonder if the flight was shorter or easier, how long would she last? You know, because I think the tide is a turning here. I think the honeymoon period in all sense is beginning to fade, and I'm not sure she likes the reality of her situation here, and I don't think the summer is going to help. Alright guys, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you with the next update. Bye bye.